Welcome back to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. As I mentioned, we're going to be having a conversation with saxophonist Dean James. I'm thrilled about this. We've been talking about it for a while. We've been playing his music. And so now he's here. We're going to have a conversation and we're going to talk about some things that I feel that you will be very, very intrigued about. So brief introduction, because we're going to talk about his bio throughout the conversation. He's born and raised in the city by the bay, and that's San Francisco. And at the age of 15, developed his love for music, listening to a number of great musicians who graced the radio. This is before smooth jazz came to be. Okay. And so from high school, in fact, in high school, for those of you who are in the Bay, you want to know what high school you went to, because I know how you San Franciscans can be. He went to Sacred Heart High School, began to pursue his passion over at the Berklee College of Music in Boston. And that's when he received his jazz and classical studies, and then went on to LA to do some great things. And we'll talk about his album catalog, because there are a number of songs that he and I were discussing that I really enjoy today that came out on his initial CD back in 95. And so we're going to talk about what's happening with him today, where you can see him real soon in the Bay Area, and so much more. Dean, how are you today?
Hey, Michael, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, I'm thrilled. Love your music. And, we had a conversation before, and great talks all the way around. So first of all, what's going on with you, man? I know you've been doing some things over there in Texas where you're living, seeing the schedule, and you've been really busy, and you're doing some great things. People are loving the shows. What's happening out there?
Well, just recently, with everyone having to deal with the pandemic, including myself, that was a grueling 22 months, but everything is picking up again. My schedules is becoming more active and getting phone calls. And actually, I've been on the road doing my makeup concert from shows that were scheduled during the pandemic, and just glad to be in front of an audience and getting more calls, more dates. And of course, I'm currently with Intervision Records out of Los Angeles, and things are able to work on some more music. And I want to talk about that as far as some upcoming project that I'm working on.
Nice. Well, absolutely. In fact, I'm sure that it's refreshing to be back out doing gigs and things of that nature, because like you said, 22 months, that's a grueling time to just be away from it. And you're doing some wonderful things. I have so many notes here, and during this conversation, I want to cover quite a bit, but we'll do what we have to do to get there. But let's take it back a little bit, because during our conversation beforehand, we're kind of laughing about some things. In fact, going to Sacred Heart High School, a lot of my friends who are from San Francisco, they always want to know, well, what high school did you go to? Because it kind of defines who we are, right? It kind of defines who the person is, where they've come from. And so you basically going to Sacred Heart, it's kind of known to be being a brainiac, a real smart guy.
Right.
Things of that nature. What was the transition between your studies in high school and then you picking up the saxophone? How did that come to be?
You know what? The studies were never an issue. I had the patience and the discipline to do that side of it. But my love of sports was what kind of got me into the music scene. I threw out, before going into high school, I loved playing baseball, football, track. I signed up for freshman football. And at the scrimmage, I had a helmet going to my knee. And that ended my sports career, my football career.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
And so they told me, school told me you fulfilled your physical ed requirements. You got to pick another elective. So, okay, let's try the orchestra. Took home a trumpet, couldn't do that. Took home an acoustic guitar because I have one at home, but tried that out. And I said, you know what, let me try something else. So I took the sax home, took an alto sax home, and lo and behold, I connected with it, and did start when I was 15. However, I threw it in the closet one summer, that summer after I finished my freshman year, and I reconnected with it my sophomore year, and I didn't realize how much I was progressing just learning how to play the horn. At some point during my sophomore year, I stuck with it, and that I made a decision my junior year to find a music school.
And you chose a very good one, by the way. It's internationally known for producing a number of great individuals out there in the industry. You know that. And so after going to Berklee College of Music, you found yourself in Los Angeles for a number of years. What was that like?
Well, here's the funny thing. You mentioned Berklee. I was in the music room over at Sacred Heart, the band room, and I picked up this catalog, and it says Berklee College of Music. And I said, oh, cool. I went through the book and looked through the catalog. Like, man, I'm excited about going to school across the bay. I'm thinking if something it's Berkeley, UC Berkeley.
Right.
And my teacher says, no, that school is in Boston. It's called the Berkeley College of Music. So, yeah. And I had several opportunities to San Francisco Conservatory of the Arts, LA Institute of the Arts, and of course, Berkeley. I chose to send an audition tape to Berkeley and got in. So, yeah, I spent a lot of time during the summer. I ended up practicing. It went from half-hour a day to nearly 8 hours a day. So I was, I guess you can say, passionate about wanting to play that sax.
It's an amazing story, and I'm sure you're not the only one who had that presumption that it was Berkeley out of, internationally known UC Berkeley, you know what I mean? And I'm positive that you're not the only one. In fact,
exactly.
The truth be told, when I first heard of Berkeley College of Music, I assumed I was born in Berkeley.
Okay.
So until I saw the spelling, I'm like, that's different. Okay, so that's what I figured it out. So I understand. I totally get it. Now, being in Los Angeles, here you are, you're playing because you have a history. You have, I'm looking at this list, you have performed with a number of notables. You have been on stage with Dave Koz, David Benoit, Paul Taylor, Joe Albright, and so many others. The list is really huge and long. I'm looking at a number of different hits from a variety of your CDs, and they're just amazing. And there's stories for every single one. Going back to 1995, the Can We Talk CD, there are a number of ones that are, in my opinion, can still be hits today. And in my mind, they are. I want the people to know about how your experience landed you on the Congratulations tour with Vesta Williams going back in, was that 92?
Yeah, you know what comes to memory is that was my last year of having a real day job.
Wow.
I was working for a Korean-based data processing company and took on several contracts in the city of Los Angeles. And I did projects from the LA Public Libraries to UC Long Beach. I worked at the chancellor's office, and every day I'm just constantly thinking of music. Music is in my head. And there was a sax player, Rostine Calhoun, who also lived in LA. He ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and he was the original sax player for Vesta Williams. And on the congratulations, I get a call from the musical director. He told me the situation, and he offered me the gig. And so without hesitation, that was my two things. I took the job, but I decided I was going to go into music full time. And since 1992, this is all I've been doing is playing music.
Nice indeed. It's amazing we had those transitions that take us from one level to the next. And when you say that was my last day job, it's really interesting to see that transformation in our own life. And especially when you share that with others too, to give them insight into the artist. But one of the things too, I was looking at from your 1997 album, The Intimacy, you had some heavyweights on that project. And this is back in 97. Tell listeners who you had on there on the background playing instruments for you.
Oh man, I had no idea until they told me who. I had everybody from Paul Jackson Jr. played on the first project back in 95, so we were able to get him to play on this. I had Bobby Lyle on keyboards, who now, I live in the same city as Bobby, and I've been following him for years from the Ivory Coast project. He ended up playing on the project. Let's see, Larry Dunn from Earth, Wind & Fire. A lot of the jazz magazines had field day with that CD because of the number of artists on that roster. But yeah, I had writers like Jeff Carruthers. I had Jerry Peters write a few tunes on project, and Jerry, who had written Got Me Going in Circles and had written the music score to a movie called The Mac back in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah,
remember that one?
Jerry, he helped with some of the really nice tunes on there. Finally Forever, Endlessly, did real string arrangements. I had a real string section on that project as well. Gosh, that's quite a few. Yeah,
quite a few. Because I play your music, not just on the show, but I have it on my personal playlist. What's interesting is Luther Vandross cover, Can I Take You Out? Now I understand your cover was 6 weeks on the charts when internet radio came to be.
Right. Exactly. And it started out in San Antonio, and the program director had contacted me via email and said, "Hey, this is one of the hottest tunes that we have right now." And thanks to John Smith, Harold Lilly, and Warren Campbell, who wrote the song for Luther back in the year 2000, one day I just happened to stumble onto the music video of that song, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I'm one of those artists who just is inspired by melodic structure, and I just love where it was going. And told the story basically, and if I can just mimic all the nuances and all the lines that Luther had sung, then that would make a song. And so it took a minute to learn, but man, just I was happy with the recording.
Nice indeed. Now, just for time's sake, because I want to get into your latest project, obviously.
Okay.
And because I listened to this, and not just the ones that's chart topping right now, I listened to the whole thing. And I put some words next to a number of your songs, which describe them to me. For example, if I was to be commissioned to write a brief paragraph about this project, and they said, "Michael, just give us some words. What would you say about this?" And I would say, well, I would say it's chill. It's cool. It's refreshing. There's even a guitar arrangement that I love. I would say it's a drive time getaway, very light, relaxing, and groovy. And it's interesting because these are the words that come to mind as I'm looking at a number of the titles on your project. How did this project come to be? Because this one right here is doing very well, I understand, on the charts. And so talk to us about how this came to be and what was your inspiration for it?
Wow, Groovy Sax, the song itself was sitting in my head for 2 years.
Really? Wow.
The whole entire project was a thought of mine back in 2009 after my Love Takes Time CD. I've been piecing together, whenever I write songs or ideas, I'll go to my studio and just, record snippets of those songs and later on come back to them and see if I can add to it until I come up with a finished song form, It's been a compilation of songs or pieces of songs and every writer is different, I guess, or every composer is different. I'll take bits and pieces of songs, and then when I'll do like a 1 minute snip of an audio track I record, and then I'll be at the mall or at a restaurant and I come up with this idea and I'll just add that onto the song, and each day I'll keep adding on until I come up with an actual finished product, Guess that's my way of writing tunes. I usually come back to them and it's always good to take a break in between. So I'll work on it and I've listened to it for hours, and then all of a sudden I'll step away for a day or two or maybe a week and then come back to it and it's fresh in my mind again, and it just opens up a door for more ideas,
Everybody has their own unique way, and you definitely have yours. And I think it's healthy and it's really refreshing because you're bringing bits of information that are inspired by something going around, so you're inspired and then here you are, you'll put that out. And so I think that's pretty great overall, considering, your level of play. You are known to have an amazing performance during your concerts. Talking about that, I understand you're going to be locally in the Bay Area, and I want to talk about that. In fact, let's talk about some of the events that are taking place in California. What do you got going on?
Well, I just came back from doing the 10 to the NAMM show, something that happens annually in Anaheim. And it's like a music conference where all these music vendors come out and present a lot of new equipment, so you get a chance to see the latest thing in saxophones and electronics and keyboards, all the fun stuff. And I just did a concert with my label mates from Intervision Records. We were at Spaghettini's in Seal Beach. So we did that concert, and I'm doing a few private things here in Houston, private events. And leading up to next week's concert in Vallejo. I'm excited to come back to the Bay Area. It's been quite some time since I've actually performed in the Bay Area.
So we have June 25th, you'll be on the stage, and that's going to be in Vallejo. And also on the ticket is Joel Del Rosario and his band, and Paula Atherton, also saxophonist out of New York. Yep. And I understand that's going to be just the three of you right there. Individually, you guys are great, but together you guys doing your thing is going to be fantastic overall. Yeah. And how can people connect with you online? Social media, website, things of that nature. Share with the people how they can get connected with you.
Oh, you can find me on any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and or my website, which is deanjamesjazz.com. And you can find most of my music there, or you can also go to intervisionrecords.com and find information about me there.
Nice. If you just tuned in, we're talking with saxophonist extraordinaire Dean James, and he's given us some insight into his history, talking to us about what's happening now with his current project. And before we get out of here, what I want to do is I want to end this with one of your current songs on your project. What would you like to feature to our listeners?
My very first single with Intervision Records, and it's entitled DJ's Groove.
Nice. In fact, that is a nice one indeed. So Dean, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today and sharing a tiny bit of you, and because there's so much more to you, and I want to bring you back so that we can talk more about not just the history, but also your current projects that people need to know. And I want people to understand how great you are. For those who don't know, they need to know. And I really appreciate you hanging out with me today here on Sacramento Smooth Jazz.
Oh, thanks, Michael. I appreciate you inviting me to the show, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Awesome. So, folks, we're going to leave you off with his current project. Here's DJ's Groove right here on Sacramento Smooth Jazz.
Thanks for listening to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. To continue listening to Smooth Jazz 24/7, follow Sac Smooth Jazz on social media and listen by going to sacsmoothjazz.fm.